Hello BookTube, welcome back to my channel. It's a beautiful day outside, although a little humid, but I thought I'd take you outside, a little change of scenery. It's been a while since my last video and I've read quite a few things, so I want to go ahead and share some of those books with you. First up is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. This has sort of been making the rounds of BookTube recently. It features our main character, Nora Seed, and she has been rather disillusioned with her life. She's in a kind of inescapable depression and she decides to take her life. But when she kind of wakes up, she's not in a hospital or anything, she's in a library. It's referred to as the Midnight Library. Time is stopped at midnight. She's in some sort of possible coma or something in her real life, and she's sort of stuck here depending on what's going to happen on the outside world. She meets a librarian who she's known in her real life, and the librarian introduces her to this library, which is all about her life. Every book on the shelf is a life that she could have had, a different course that it could have taken, including a book of regrets of all the things that she has regretted within her life. And she explores all these things, and if she picks up a single book, starts reading through it, she will find herself transported into that life and living that life. And it seems like time goes by. Once she's not happy in that life, she jumps back and she's back at the library, which is a very interesting concept and look at life and the decisions we make and how it affects different people and changes. And it definitely has that It's a Wonderful Life vibe to it. And I really enjoyed it, so I highly recommend it. Next up, it was a graphic novel. I picked up volume 3 of Heartstopper. This is by Alice Oseman. It features our main characters. This is Charlie and his boyfriend Nick. Charlie's was outed actually back in high school, went through a very tough time of bullying and everything. Nick has recently discovered that he is bisexual and has started to fall in love with Charlie over the course of the first 2 volumes. In this particular volume, the two of them are on a school trip. Not a lot of people know about Nick's orientation or the fact that Nick and Charlie are in a relationship, and Charlie is very fearful of his boyfriend Nick having to go through the same bullying that he went through. He's even having a hard time finding how to tell some of his friends that the two of them are a couple. And this it's generally a very sweet look at their relationship as it develops, and the challenges of having to constantly come out to various people. There are themes of bullying, self-harm, and eating disorders within this particular volume, which I think will be explored more in volume 4, which is out in physical form, but not yet as a Kindle edition, so I haven't been able to read that one yet. But it's just a really sweet story of the two and their relationship as it develops, and I highly recommend it. Really cute illustrations, too. Next up is a graphic novel series. I forget how many are total in the series, but I have read 4 of them so far. They're by Brian K. Vaughan, the author of Saga and Why the Last Man. This is Paper Girls. This is volume 1. Ooh, don't think this landed on my back. This is volume 1 of the graphic novel, which contains, I think, 5 editions of the comic book. And I think each one is about 5. This is volume 2. Sorry for the reflection here. Volume 3 and volume 4. So it features our 4 main characters, which are 12-year-old newspaper delivery girls. It's set in like the around 1988, right after Halloween, where they encounter some strange creatures, and they're speaking a bizarre language, and they're sort of attacked, and all sorts of chaos starts happening. They find themselves transported through time, where they encounter other futuristic versions of themselves, which they find quite shocking, and you will as a reader too, to see how much they've changed over the years. And seems to be some sort of intergalactic war kind of going on Earth that some people don't even seem to be aware of. It's really far-flung, kind of out there, exciting, and the reason I decided to pick this up, I've seen it, it's been out for quite some time, but I finally decided to pick it up because I got a postcard in the mail. This one right here, Paper Girls, and it says, "We're filming in your hood." They're literally going to be filming on the street I live in. So I think in the next 2 weeks or so, they're going to be setting up somewhere down this street here, and I think that's super exciting. So I definitely wanted to acquaint myself with the whole story and just kind of see what it was all about, and I really enjoyed it. So I definitely recommend picking it up. And I'll let you know how the filming goes. If my house happens to be in it, it'd be kind of interesting. Yeah, that's those. I also read The Sleep Experiment by Jeremy Bates. Now, I've read 2 other of his books, Catacombs, which takes place under the streets of Paris, and The Suicide Forest, which takes place in the Aokigahara Forest in Japan. I really enjoyed those 2. This one I didn't enjoy so much. Apparently, the author based his story loosely on a creepypasta story. It's some kind of online site about a Russian experiment involving soldiers where they were sleep deprived and all the kind of craziness that happened because of that. And this features our main character, Dr. Roy Wallace. He's a scientist. And at the beginning of the book, the very beginning, he's acquitted of some crime, which you'll find out what that is as the story progresses. He's not a very likable character. There's a whole side story to his character that I didn't really think was all that necessary. Women just seem to fall for him like he's some kind of God-given whatever. He has 2 students working with him for this experiment that he's going to do. One's a man, one's a woman, and she's just constantly flirting with him. He's had a fling with a student in the past. He's got a current girlfriend. All 3 of them seem to pop up, in and out of the story. I didn't care for that whole side aspect of it. But with his experiment, he plans on getting 2 volunteers. They end up being an Australian couple that are they'll get paid for participating in the experiment, and that'll help fund their travels that they're doing right now. So they agree to do this, where they're going to be holed up in a kind of conjoined room on a part of the campus that is actually no longer being used. It's about to be torn down, but there's some rooms that they kind of set aside for this experiment. It's self-contained. There's like a kitchen and bedrooms and a bathroom and everything. And they'll be subjected to some kind of gas that will prevent them from falling asleep. And they'll be monitored and all this stuff throughout the course by his assistants and himself. And things get really crazy. This particular one, I'd say if you have a queasy stomach, don't read. There's themes of like violence, self-mutilation, extreme gore. I just didn't really enjoy this one all that much, and I found it kind of cringeworthy in some cases where it got to the gore aspect of it, and not one of my favorites. I do recommend the author, though. I have enjoyed his other books so far. This one just was a bit of a letdown. Next up, I read The Prince of Mist by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. I originally thought this was actually the first book in a trilogy. Reading the back, and I have the other 2 books. The next one up is what is it called? The Midnight Palace. There's a kind of question and answer thing in the back, like an interview with the author and James Patterson. And he's asked about the 3 books. These are all YA books that he came out with originally before his Shadow of the Wind series. And they were tied up in some kind of legal hassle before they were able to be re-released. He does describe these as like the trilogy Mist, but they are only linked together on the themes within the story, not the characters themselves. So there. But I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed his writing so much, and writing for young readers, he does a fantastic job as well. They're intriguing. This particular one features Max and Alicia Carver. They move into this beach house along with their younger sister and their parents to kind of escape the war, to put them in a little safer area. He's a watchmaker, the father, and we'll be able to set up a business kind of out there where it's a little safer for them. While exploring, Max meets a young boy named Roland who lives on a little hut by the lighthouse where his adoptive grandfather lives. He runs the lighthouse, and he starts, showing him around town and things. At the house that they're staying in, Max discovers some very strange things, including some bizarre statues that have been kind of covered up a lot by like overgrown forests and things around the area. And one of them is this strange clown figure. There's this strange story or a link to the past about a figure known as the Prince of Mist, and he's basically a Faustian type character. He would grant a wish in regard for some sort of payment that he would exact at a later time. And he's basically returned and wanted to collect on an old debt. And Max and Alicia and Roland, they all kind of find themselves pulled into this debt that needs to be paid. And it was just really, really good. I really enjoyed it. I love the character of the prince. He was exceedingly creepy. There's basically gothic overtones to this, and although yet written for young readers, adults will find this very entertaining. And I'm looking forward, like I said, to the other two books. Even though they're not completely linked, that theme, I guess, carries through. The other book I finished is kind of an LGBT-themed story, YA one. It's perfect because we are in Pride Month, so I was told about this one from a coworker who thought I would enjoy it, and I definitely did. This is called Let's Talk About Love. This is by Claire Kahn. Our main character is Alice. She is described as biromantic asexual. The asexual aspect of her identity has caused problems in the past with her relationships kind of failing, and trying to develop a new relationship. She's worried that, having to come out, he's constantly having to come out. Is it going to be the failure of another relationship? She lives off campus with her two best friends, who are actually a romantic couple now. Sometimes she feels a bit like a third wheel. Sometimes she feels like they want to go off and do things on their own, and she's just kind of like, up in air. She works at a library where she comes to meet a young boy named Takumi and starts to have feelings for him. And again, it's like, how will he react to her being ace? And she's just a really enjoyable character. She has this thing called the cutie scale, where she rates people aesthetically on a cute scale and stuff like that, which is pretty funny. She loves to eat. She's very talkative, but it was a really informative story in terms of what it feels to be ace. I think the feeling she goes through, it's about her own identity, not just her own identity, but also pursuing a life that she wants, not what her parents want, in terms of her studies at school and just finding who she is and her place in the world. And it was just thoroughly enjoyable. I really, really loved it. Highly recommend that if you're looking for a good book for Pride Month to read. I think that's everything I have currently finished reading. Yes. I'm going to go back to this, pull up some photos of what I'm currently reading. One of those, that looks a little blurry, but my current audiobook is Mary Barton by Elizabeth Gaskell. I've previously read Cranford and Wives and Daughters by her, and I really, really enjoyed them. And so I thought I would try this one. This is actually her first novel. It's set in Manchester, England in the 1830s. It features a lot of, to get to the main part, the main character is Mary. She's the daughter of a unionist, and she's offered, she's proposed to by Jem Wilson, someone she's had feelings for quite some time since they were young, and she completely shocks Jem when she turns down the marriage proposal. She's hoping to marry Henry Carson. He's a mill owner's son and would provide a better future, more stable future for her and her father. But then something happens, and Henry is murdered, and Jem ends up being the main suspect. So we have kind of a murder mystery type going on through here. We have themes of industrialization and looking at class division, poverty, starvation. So that whole aspect of society at that time plays a major part in here. It's okay so far. I mean, I'm curious to see how that whole kind of the murder plot, who actually did kill Henry. We don't know yet. I'm about 40% within the story. But Jem so far has just been suspect, not questioned or anything like that. So, yeah, I don't know how the story's going to go. I haven't really heard too much about this particular story, but it's interesting so far. I'm enjoying it. Next up is Sorrowland by Rivers Solomon. This is their sophomore novel, the second one. What did I read before from them? I think it's The Deep, which was... is that what it was? Yeah, it was about African American female slaves that were thrown overboard. They were pregnant or something, and then they give birth to the child, and they become sort of like mermaid type creatures, and that was really, really good. This one I'm having a little struggling through, kind of staying focused within it, but our main character in this one is Vern. She's a 15-year-old. She's married to an abusive, kind of controlling religious cult leader, and she's an albino black girl who is, she kind of escapes when she's like 7 months pregnant. She's a 15-year-old. She's 7 months pregnant. And she eventually runs off into the woods, kind of off the cult area, and she gives birth to two twins. Two twins. She gives birth to twins. Hello. Anyway, she's still being hunted by the members of the cult, and she kind of has some encounters with people in the outside world, but she's learning to kind of navigate through this kind of new life, and being a mother, and the responsibilities of that. And according to the description, she makes some sort of metamorphosis or transformation through the story, and I haven't quite seen that yet. I'm finding it a little slow, and a little troubling too with the whole cult aspect of it. We have some flashbacks to the abuse she kind of faced in there, and the weird kind of rules and things that they have, and yeah, that's all a bit troubling, but yeah, I'll continue reading and see how the rest of the story goes. And my current one is one that's perfect for Pride Month as well. This is another YA novel. This is Felix Ever After, and this is by Kaysen Callender. I'm really enjoying this one so far. It kind of makes me... I'm reading this as an ebook as well, and I'm finding myself lured more to this one than Sorrowland right now. But we have our main character, Felix. They're a black, queer, transgender teen struggling with their identity and acceptance, and also, I guess, encountering first love. Still kind of early in the book. I haven't gotten that far yet, or they have, when they meet somebody or whatever. But there are themes of transphobia, bullying, dead naming. But I'm liking the character so far, and yeah, I'm curious to see, if I will like it as much as the rest of BookTube seems to like. So, like I said, it's perfect for Pride Month. What are you guys reading? Anything interesting? Are you participating in Pride Month with any kind of LGBTQ plus themed books? Let me know what they are. I'm always looking for something good to read. And thanks for watching. I'm going to go drink something cold now because this humidity is starting to get back to me. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.